Right, very good afternoon everybody and welcome to the Radio Society of Harrow. This afternoon, Terry Baldwin, G4UEM, is going to give us a talk and presentation on the Clansman family of radios used for many years by the British Army. Over to you, Terry.
Good afternoon all. Right, today we're going to have an overview, as Peter says, on the Clansman system. It's a very all-encompassing system. Hopefully I'll cover as much as I can, but there are bits and pieces that I've left out. But I'm quite happy to take questions as we go along, or there will be a session at the end where we can ask questions, perhaps pass bits and pieces of the equipment around to have a better look at it. So, anybody remember that picture?
Falklands.
Yeah, Falklands. What's he got on his back? He's actually got this. PRC 350. And if you Google that picture, you'll find out all about the guy who is in the picture. And that's showing where and when the Clansman system was used in the British Army. Right, what I'm going to try and cover today is the history of the system, a glossary, because before we go into the talking about the Clansman system, it's worth knowing what some of the abbreviations mean. We're going to cover Clansman HF radio sets, Clansman VHF radio sets, the one Clansman UHF set, talk a bit about batteries and charging, Clansman control harness and accessories, Clansman audio gear, Clansman accessories, ATUs, some Clansman antennas, getting started, some suggested setups, and some links to two organisations or two websites where you find a lot of information about the Clansman system. And if you want to sort of dip your toe into the Clansman system, there's a couple of websites, commercial websites, where you can buy some of the ex-military Clansman stuff. Right, so the Clansman is the name of the combat radio net system used by the British Army from 1976 to the year 2000. The Clansman system replaced the ageing Larkspur radio system. Clansman was developed by the Signals Research and Development Establishment, SRDE, in the mid-60s. The initial design started in the mid-60s, with trials taking place around about 1970 to 1972. Production started in 1975 and it entered in 1978 onwards. So, Clansman was built by Raycor, MEL Communications, Plessey, Marconi, some really famous manufacturers, and although the headsets and ancillaries were also produced by Amplavox and Marconi and others. Used in the Northern Ireland conflict, the Falklands, the First and Second Gulf Wars, and Afghanistan. Bowman started to replace Clansman in 1999. Right, so here we go to some of the abbreviations. PRC, Portable Radio Communications. VRC, Vehicle Radio Communications. RT, probably you're all familiar with that, radio transceiver. TURF, Tuning Unit Radio Frequency. SURF, Selector Unit Radio Frequency. A DCCU, Direct Current Charging Unit. ACCU, Alternating Current Charging Unit. GSA, Ground Spike Antenna. Some other terms that you might come across, and these terms will be popping up during the presentation. CES, Complete Equipment Schedule. So that's where you would buy a Clansman radio and you'd have all the ancillaries with it, rather than just buying the bare bones Clansman unit. So it'd probably come with the aerial, a case, a handset or a headset or whatever. That's what CES, and all the Clansman manuals are available on the internet, and as you look in the manuals it will show you what all the basic configurations or the advanced configurations of each particular radio is. We've got ATR, Adapter Telegraph Radio, AR FAT, Adapter RF Tuning Unit, ATU, TUAAM, Tuning Unit Automatic Antenna Matching, and we'll see about that later on. IBRU, interconnecting box, radio, broadcast unit. These are some of the things that we won't be going into in any depth. And DMU, digital master unit, which is a form of digital interface. Right, so the family. The HF transceivers cover from 2 to 30 megs, and the VHF cover from 30 to 76 megahertz. So there we can see the HF is ideal for us, and VHF, there's something probably in there for us to operate on 50 megs or 70 megs. The family consists of 9 major units, 3 of which are carried on vehicles or carried in vehicles. The other 6 are on the back or across the chest of a foot soldier. The models are designated. The UK is normally dropped, but for completeness, you may see UK PRC or UK VRC, which stands for United Kingdom Personal Radio Communications, and United Kingdom Personal Radio Communications. So they're normally shortened, as we see there, to PRC or VRC. Right, so we talk about the sets in the HF family. We've got a PRC 316, PRC 319, PRC 320, which probably a lot of you are familiar with, a VRC 321, and a VRC 322. So the PRC 316, or with its Larkspur numbering, an A16, was an HF CW transceiver operated from 2 to 7 megs, 4 watts output, operated between on 10 to 16 volts, crystal controlled frequencies, and it's not really a Clansman radio, but it's got that PRC designation, and it sort of is loosely associated with the Clansman family of radios. As you see there, it's a late entry Larkspur radio. It's intended for long-range patrol use with a built-in more small scheme. Quite rare. I've never seen one. I can't even remember seeing one for sale anywhere. So quite a rare piece. So this is. I was talking to somebody about one of these early on. PRC 319. I think it's fair to say this is probably one of the most sought after Clansman radios, Manpack radios. Covers HF and VHF, CW, SSB and data modes, 0 to 40 megs, 50 or 5 watts, 24 volts DC. Has a burst transmission feature, has an electronic message unit, an EMU inside it, which is a small alphanumeric keyboard, which allows transmission of written words when voice transmissions would be dangerous. Manufactured by MEL Communications. The role used by special forces on long-range patrols, probably used typically by the SAS behind the enemy lines in Falkland Islands, somewhere like that. Going for a lot of money on eBay. Really sought after and very nice indeed. Right, so now we come to probably one of the most common known Clansman transceivers, PRC 320. So there's your PRC 320 here. Covers HF bands, upper sideband, AM and CW. So although it covers the lower part of the HF frequency, it's upper sideband only, but there are modifications where you can add lower sideband to it. I've got another one in a bag there with a switch on it, which you can switch between upper sideband or lower sideband. I think quite a few people still use upper sideband on 40 meters. Covers 2 to 30 megs, 3 or 30 watts out, 24 volts DC from a battery underneath, and the range is dependent on the antenna being used. Typically a whip in this configuration on your backpack, or portable with a mast and a dipole or an inverted L or any other type of antenna. Manufactured by Plessey, and its role really is intercompany communications back to brigade. So that's what that would be used for. Next one. So really this is a 320 but in a box that you'd fit into a Land Rover or an armoured vehicle. So here's the 321, and the specifications are very similar, obviously, to the 320. It's just like a 320 in a square box. So you've got HFSSB, CW, 1 to 30 megs, slightly different power, 25 or 5 watts on CW, 40 or 5 watts PP on SSB. Again, run from 24 volts. Most Land Rovers, as you probably know, are 24 volts. Runs off 24 volts DC. Manufactured again by MEL Communications, and again, its role is really intercompany communications and also then back to brigade. So here we go again. This is our 321 that has now got the addition of an amplifier and an ATU, and it becomes a 322. So the 322 has the addition of this 250 watt amplifier and matching ATU. And again, this would be probably mounted in a Land Rover or probably another larger armed vehicle. Right, now we come down to Clansman VHF sets. So the first one, we'll move on a slide. So the first one we talk about is the 349. I don't know why I bought it, because as you can see, it's no use to man or beast. It doesn't cover any amateur frequency.
Can it be modified to cover?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, Martin. Possibly, but I don't think I would like to try and take that apart and modify that. It's just part of a collection, I suppose, really. So this VHFM covers 37 to 46.95 or 975 megahertz, 0.25 watts out, runs on 10 AA batteries and a battery case underneath, and the range is 0 to 2 miles, manufactured by Rainbow. It's a squad platoon radio, but yeah, I just really bought it out of interest. Pass that along. I wouldn't be passing everything around. It's starting to get a bit heavy as the afternoon goes on. So here we come back to the PLC 350, which we saw earlier on this afternoon on the back of the marine yomping, probably towards Port Stanley. Covers 36 to 57 megahertz, 225 kilohertz steps, 2 watts, 12 or 15 watts. Sorry, 12 or 15 volts DC, range about 3 miles, weighs about 3 kilograms, and manufactured by Raycor. Again, this is short range platoon and intersection level communications. I think the one that the 349 that we're passing around actually replaced this at some stage. But yeah, very nice. If you want something reasonable for FM on 6 meters and you want to play military radio,
this is designed so that it can be operated with a gloved hand.
Yeah, that's right.
On some radio.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
try that imagine.
Yeah.
Another thing, I think 350.
Well, we'll get on to that, shall we?
Alright.
Because that will be the next one. Oh, sorry, that's the 350. Did you want to say something?
I was just saying that
351.
350 is there was a special box made to go on the wing of a Land Rover.
Yeah.
What that would be? Yes.
Well, yeah, let's cover that later on. What I'm trying to say to you, there's so much about this stuff.
Still good.
Yeah. Right, now we're talking about, this is the first piece of Clansman gear I bought, a PLC 351. And I bought that as you know, we spoke about CECS, so I bought that complete. So that actually came with all the accessories that it was supplied with. In fact, it came as a 352. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the 351 VHFN, so 30 to 76 megahertz, so ideal for 4 or 6 meters FM only. 4 watts output. Again, runs on the same battery as the 320, the 24 volt battery. It's got a range of about 6 miles, weighs about 7.5 kilos, manufactured by Raycon. And again, its role is inter-platoon communications. So now we have a 352. So you've got your 351, so to make it a 352, you have a 20 watt amplifier. And also on the top, you can see it's got a surf unit, and we'll talk about surfs later on, but this little surf unit bolts on top. So basically it's a 351 with the addition of a 20 watt amplifier, portable with an external antenna. And that's the important thing. This thing must be used with an internal brown spike antenna, because you don't want 20 watts of RF near your head. And normally vehicle mounted or can be portable. So then we've got the vehicle version of this. Somebody asked me, Martin asked me about this. This is a 353 VHFN and covers again that band of frequencies from 30 to 76 megahertz, 24 volts DC, 50 watts power output, and it's got a valve PA. This is the one you were talking about. It's definitely got a valve in that one.
And I think it comes as a front end PA, so it's click the PCT. About
yeah, I've not. It's not. It's not something. You know, where
it's unusual.
Where you're going to operate. You know, you can't put that in the back of your car and operate somewhere unless you've got a converter or something like that. 24 volts is a bit. If it's 12 volts, perhaps you might find people using these, but it's. I don't know. What can I say? Really, it's not something. It's not something really, unless you're really into Clansman, it would be something that you might be interested in. Weighs about 22 kilos. Manufactured by Marconi, and again, this is communication between brigade and battle group, HQs and frontline forces. And this is the only UHF radio set, the PRC 344. Is VHF, UHF, AM, covers 225 to 400 megahertz, 2.5 watts, range about 5 miles. I think I've got the weight there on somewhere, so I don't know where that sort of popped in. And the role really was, its role was mainly used for ground to air links between combat troops and supporting attack aircraft or helicopters or anything like that. So I've not seen, I think I saw one of these on eBay a little while ago. They don't come up that often. But again, not really any use to us. Doesn't really cover any amateur band for us, so not really. It's just here for completeness. Right. So as the military are, they produce loads and loads and loads of accessories for all this to support all their equipment. The batteries for the 351, 352, and the 320 are all 24 volt NiCad batteries, and they produce a couple of chargers. As you can see, here's the battery charger I use to charge my batteries. Basically, just put 14 volts into that converts it to the charging voltage, and another cable goes into the battery. They also do plates where you can charge a couple of batteries, and they also do these huge, great big banks, chargers that will charge banks of batteries.
On the further stuff, Terry, have you found that the batteries are usually okay?
The ones I've got are fairly okay. You've got to realise how old this stuff is now. You know, I charged all my batteries up. They all charge up, and they seem to operate. There's bits and pieces on the internet about modifying the battery cases and putting different types of batteries in them. Yeah, there's a lot of information. But it's like everything with batteries are probably all our bane of life, aren't they really? So we also talk about the hand crank generator. This is normally clipped onto the bottom of the 320 or the 3213. 352, 351. Normally used with a 1 amp battery, but can be used with the higher capacity 4 amp hour battery. There you go. So it's probably pre-last, but remembers going somewhere on a scheme somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and they run out of battery power, and one of them had to crank the battery round. So it does have some uses. Right. This is just to tell you what they do. They do loads and loads of accessories. Here, this is quite a lovely, typical military thing. You imagine what one of our loudspeakers is like. This is a military loudspeaker, Clansman speaker, with a volume control on it. Weighs a ton, but it's got pretty good audio on it. There's all various intercom systems, switching between 2 radio sets. The other thing they produce as well, which is quite interesting, they do test sets for all these radios. You can actually buy a test set that will test your 320 or your 350 or that. So they produce a whole raft of stuff for the Clansman system. And this is just covering a few things. A couple of ways that you can communicate. One is with a headset and a press-down PTT switch, plugs into your Clansman unit. And probably the nicest way to do it is with a telephone handset, which has a speaker in it. So it's quite a nice way to operate this equipment. And just talking about a few other bits and pieces that we'll gloss over very quickly. There's an interconnecting box broadcast unit, an IBRU. We spoke very briefly about the digital master unit, the DMU, used in conjunction with encryption devices that can provide secure communications on the VHF network. And we spoke very, very, very quickly about the SURF. So here's a SURF. A SURF unit is it's just a filter. So if you were operating 2 351s quite close to each other, you put one of these on and you could sort of tune the other one out. So you're not sort of blowing the front end up with while you're talking and the other bloke's listening. Quite sort of advanced stuff if you think about it in the sort of early 70s. So now we've come back to ATUs. So TURF, tuning unit radio frequency. It's an ATU. It's basically there to tune an antenna, like we would use an ATU in our own radio equipment. This is where you spoke about the wing boxes. Ah, okay, right. So this is a TUAM, tuning unit, automatic antenna matching unit. Essentially, it's really an automatic ATU, and it's you've often seen Land Rovers. Before I knew about Clansman, I used to think there was that funny box on the front of a Land Rover with an aerial in it. Why have they got the box? Why have they not just like we would mount it just straight on the wing? But it's actually got an ATU, automatic ATU inside the box on the wing of the Land Rover. Clansman antenna and mast. So you've got things where you have a typical army, typical Clansman dipole comes on a winder with markings on it to tell you how much of it you've got to unwind to get it on the right frequency. They produce their own dipole sensors. I'm going to pass this around to have a look at this. So you get two of those into your dipole sensor, and you've got the dipole, and you just unwind it. You look on your frequency chart, and you unwind it to the right coloured markings on the antenna, and there you are, up and ready. Got the, we spoke about this earlier on, the ground spike antenna. Have you? Have you? You need a 352 to go with it, Julian. Also, the ground spike antenna can be used on a 5.4 metre mast. There's a vertical rod with a TUAM on it. There's something. Have any of you seen the pineapple antenna? The Clansman pineapple antenna? That's a broadband dummy load from 30 to 70 megahertz. No, only joking. But it's a few people do use them, but they aren't all that effective. Ground-mounted monopoles, and the two sort of masts that I'm familiar with is the 5.4 metre fiberglass mast and the 12 metre rakel mast. I know someone in the room is after a 12 metre rakel mast. Right, so there we go. There's the battle whip antenna on our 350 there. There's the pineapple antenna that we spoke about, which fits on top of the mast, and you put on which of these rods that you, depending on the frequency that you're operating on, it's dependent on how many of those rods you actually put on top of the pineapple. Here's the ground spike antenna, which is basically a spike, a sort of attachment that fits onto the ground spike, and then you put your rods again on top of this attachment, put your coax cable on it, and there's a chart there that tells you how many of these rods you put on for whatever frequency you want to operate on. It's funny how this was invented all these years ago, and now you've got people in China bringing out these HF spike antennas now with coils and telescopic whips. This is the 5.4 metre mast, so all of their stuff is absolutely brilliant. It comes in a lovely carrying case. You've got all the bits you need: the die ropes, the stakes, and anything. These rings are to attach your guide ropes to it. Everything is all complete in one kit, and it makes quite a nice light portable mast for going out in the field. This is a 12 metre mast. This is myself and Don, G4LOO. We use two of these to string a dipole between when we operate on HF field day. So basically, it's a telescopic mast here. This bit is a ladder, so you put the mast into the base plate. There's a piece of string that shows you exactly how far away from the base plate to put the stakes, and connect everything up, the guy ropes to the mast, and then you just climb up the ladder and push the mast up and lock it off. Very nice. And it comes in its own carry case. It's got a sledgehammer with it. All you need, and it's a lovely antenna or mast to take out portable. Probably need two of you to operate it. I've never tried doing it by myself. Right, so getting started. And so my recommendation, if you do want to dip your toes into Clansman, would be, if you're interested in HF, look at a 320. If you're interested in 6 and 4 metres, perhaps go down the 351, 352 routes. these are the best compromises for the amateur radio bands. I try to sort of look at the prices, and like everything else on eBay, the prices, everything was shot up. I think when I bought this, and this was again a sort of CECS complete 320, I paid about 170 quid for it. And now you can see that the prices have jumped up to anywhere between sort of 450 from eBay, and possibly some of the dealers were trying to sell them at 650. So it is an expensive way to get into Clansman, but it is a nice piece of kit to use. PRC 351, 352 is a little bit cheaper, probably around about 120 to 200 will get you something like that. A carrier for it, a battery, possibly a headset, and all the bits and pieces that you need to get going. Here's some of the sort of suggested setups. So you've got PRC 320, so you've got the radio. This is the gooseneck adapter. I tried to, the whip is a bit long to be resting on Sam's shoulder. So 2.4 metre whip, 24 volt battery, and you can either have, as we spoke about, a handset or a headset, or if you're keen on Morse, it also comes with a Morse key. And as David mentioned earlier on today, it's not VFO controlled. It is, you've got to actually dial in the frequency. So it is a pain. It's not like you just turn your VFO like you used to around. It's clicking around some knobs to try and get something on frequency. Right, so they were talking about 351, 352s. So basic radio, the battle whip, or the telescopic whip. As you can see, they're both interchangeable. 24 volt battery and a headset or a handset, and that will get you going on 4 or 6 meters. If you want a little bit more power, just add 20 watt amplifier, and I'm suggesting the ground spike antenna, but any other antenna. Good for 6, as I say, good for 6 or 4 meters FM. Right, if people want this information, I can email the link, or we can put the link somewhere, perhaps on Discord, so that you can see it. I belong to VMARS, which is the Vintage Military Amateur Radio Society. Nice organisation to belong to. That's where I actually bought my 321 at their auctions. In fact, our club, we do send some surplus equipment to VMARS. We've got a very good relationship with VMARS. And if you are interested in any sort of military equipment, VMARS is the organisation to join. Quite a reasonable price, good website, and they've got a huge collection of manuals. So you can actually, if you're a VMARS member, you can actually request any of the Clansman manuals. G0OZS, very good web page with lots and lots of information about Clansman. Well worth a look. Also a member of VMARS. I think he's the secretary of VMARS at the moment. Right, and now we get to suppliers. So if you're not willing to go down the eBay route, which is always probably can be a little bit daunting, there's a couple of suppliers here. Army Radio Sales Company. Probably one of the biggest ones at the moment is LR Series. They sell spares for Land Rovers, but they do a huge amount of Clansman equipment. Well worth just going on their website and seeing what they've got. Another one, clansmanradio.co.uk, and another one, Raise Tech. So there's some information. And of course there's YouTube, quite a lot of information on YouTube as well. How did I become interested in Clansman? I joined the Luton VHF group. I met Don. Don has been to the club and given us a couple of times, and he had a Series Land Rover, Series 3 Land Rover, and I went along with them. They were demonstrating amateur radio at the Bedfordshire Steam Fair. He had his Series 3 Land Rover there, full of Clansman equipment. He's now sold the Land Rover, but both Don and I are still interested in Clansman equipment. And Don, every now and again, does sort of take the stuff out and use it. Right, that's the end. Any questions? Anyone want to see anything or anything else?
Just one thing about the batteries. Because I first saw those as a cadet in 1973
Yeah,
at Blandford.
yeah.
But they weren't working radios, they were just dummies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the sort of slightly interesting technical bits, the batteries had the misters in the middle.
Yeah.
That was a very innovative idea to help them bring batteries up to maximum temperature as allowed.
Oh, okay. Well, during charging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first radios that were actually frequency synthesizers were used. And most synthesizers now have a frequency comparator, so they divide by circuit. These had frequency and phase comparators. There are some synthesized radios available. I don't know the technical reasons yet, but I'm trying to find out.
Okay, Martin. Well, if you find out, let us know. Yeah. I haven't.
They really were leading edge.
Well, you've got to think of the companies that were developing this stuff at that time. You know, yeah, sort of cutting edge companies, and anything for the military, it's money no object, really, isn't it? You know, when you look at how some of the stuff is designed, you know, why, you know, they even go to the length of producing a counterpoise.
Yes.
Their own dipole, their own Morse key, you know, and their own test sets for the military. It's incredible, the whole, you know, we've only really scraped the surface of a lot of the accessories. But, you know, it's money is, you know, how would you suddenly think, well, we might need a filter if we've got two radios operating next to each other? What do amateurs do? They just shout at each other and say, you know, you stop transmitting, I can't hear while you're transmitting.
Well, you can get into filter from.
Yeah, but
and they can support you.
yeah, and the military are designing their own ATUs. Everything, you know, it's brilliant. It is a lovely system.
Well, there's two threads to it, really. One is, to begin with, the equipment must be spoiling resistant.
Yeah, we didn't cover that, but
And
that's the thing.
the other thing is, it must work.
Yeah. Well, these aren't field serviceable. So if they go wrong, they go straight back to the REME, and they will fix it. But
There's
you're
no,
quite
there's no
right.
sort of, hang on a second, I've got to find an SD card. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
It's, you've got to take it out of its box, put it there, and it's
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah, I didn't really cover that because I didn't want to. Yeah, but it was a sort of an obvious thing, isn't it? These are built to go to war.
On the subject of the batteries, I do indeed have full vistas in them.
I've never taken one apart actually.
Yeah, the side charge port has got four
Yeah,
pins on it.
yeah.
And the DCCU, internally, it's outrageously complicated. But most of that is down to the temperature sensing.
Yeah.
It's got some,
Yeah.
there's like the stack of PC boards in there.
Yeah, I've never taken it apart, but you do hear about problems with them and fixes for them. But it's a complete system.
It is, yeah.
You know, I didn't bring it. I've got a tray that you can charge two batteries at the same time. It's just a complete system.
And Phil, you can load it into anything, can't you? Come on, tell the story.
I was having a conversation once about ACUs with a radio amateur. And I said, well, I was referring to a 320. I said, I've got this military set. I said, the ATU on it. I said, it will tune up on the custard if you ask it to. Through what it was. A little while later, someone sent me a link to a blog. And it was this person that I've been speaking to, who had been out and bought 4 kilograms of Tesco custard powder and produced an enormous bowl of custard and proceeded to get a QSO with someone using the bowl of custard.
Yeah, it was, crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
He was last seen buying plastic tubes and putting them in the custard to make dry bowls.
Yeah, but then,
You work Germany on a bowl of custard.
Yes.
yeah. Any more questions? Phil?
What sort of messages are
Alan,
actually-
sorry.
What sort of messages are being used with this? Because I mean, naively, I don't think the enemy could hear everything that's being said.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's-
That's, you're quite right. There are, I don't want to go into that, Alan, but there are some encryption devices. We covered it very briefly.
Oh, right.
But normally they're just normal voice transmissions.
You just got to be careful what you say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's a short message or whatever they use.
Yeah.
Do they also have some kind of a display for the return?
I've never seen one, Phil. Never ever seen
Yeah,
it.
they do.
Yeah.
Basically, the ENU
Yeah.
was being spoken about with the that goes into the 319. It's like it looks like a little book, like a militarised calculator, got a little keypad on it, and you put numeric information into it. So if you want to send text, you have to turn it into numbers first, by way of meters, and you can then send that information. It sends it very quickly. It sends it as a burst of data.
Yeah.
And stuff coming back in is displayed on the display as numbers, and then you.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into something like that too deeply. Probably you'll hardly ever see one.
You see the EMU there; it slides into the side of the 319.
Yeah.
And that thing, and the idea is, you can take it out of the radio, hand it to a cipher clerk, who can get on with things, and then he hands it back to you, and you then send it off to whoever it is.
As I say, they're quite rare. So.
Yeah.
So the encryption is done on an automatic.
There are only 400 of these that are made. The 319.
Yeah, very, as I say, very rare. They sort of normally, you normally see them for sale for sort of over £1,000.
Yeah.
You know, and then you don't know if you're buying something that works. But yeah, there we go. Actually, Don's got one, a non-working one. I was going to try and get it for today, but I ran out of time. So there we go. That's really all from me. Are there any other? Sorry, at the back.
I have a question about handset. So does it have PTT or those full duplex wireless?
No, it's just a PTT. That handset is just. If you can hear that clicking, do you want to pass that round? Pass that.
The great thing with the audio gear with the Clansman is that any piece of audio gear from any radio will fit any other radio in the entire series.
Yeah, that's I think sorry.
There's the question there.
I've no idea, Julian. Yeah.
This generation is open.
At the moment, yeah.
Starting off with a map and not yet. Right.
Thanks very much indeed, Terry. That was really great. I certainly learned a lot about the family which I wasn't aware of before. So many thanks for bringing your fantastic collection along. And finally, can I just say thank you very much indeed for everybody turning up this afternoon. It's a really good turnout, so many thanks indeed.
Thank you.